Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Mero Valle podcast. Today we're doing something different. Normally we focus on music, entertainment from the valley, but today we're gonna do something a little more on the paranormal side. Today we have my friend Jerry and Alicia.
Correct.
All right, I said it right. See, I didn't forget it. From Revenant Watch Paranormal. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Doing good.
Welcome to Mero Valle podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Is this the first time you guys are on a podcast to talk about this?
Yeah, this is the first time that we've been here with you guys, so we're looking forward to it.
All right. But I mean, as a have you been to other podcasts with this type of...
we've done a couple of podcasts in the past, and then we were running a podcast of our own for a little while, but then we kind of stopped that just to focus on actually doing investigations.
Right, all right. So we're going to get a little more deep into what it is exactly what you do, but Jerry, if you want to start with kind of just a brief description of what it is exactly that your team does.
Sure. Pretty much our team, I guess you would say that we're pretty much like on the scientific level. We normally try to go out there and try to capture evidence with our devices that we have, that we use. Just because somebody tells us that, a place is haunted, we're not just going to go in there and just say, oh, it's haunted.
Yeah.
We go in there as skeptics, with an open mind, and to try to see if we can actually capture something before we can actually say, well, you know what, there is some activity in there.
Yeah.
Or you know what, yes, it is haunted. So far, the investigations that we've done, I'm not going to say that a place is haunted. There is some activities that that we can say that there is activities, but I'm not going to say, but yes, it's haunted.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything's coming out. No. It doesn't work that way as much as we would love for it to do.
In other words, you try to be as professional, or you have a professional approach to it whenever you're doing it.
Right.
Right. And it always catches my attention when people use the word scientific. What is the scientific aspect of it that you do?
Just pretty much using our instruments that we use out in the trade, as far as the equipment that we have, digital recorders or cameras and stuff. We also use the old method as far as using like dowsing rods. If you know what those are, it's just like wires. Pretty much that's what they are. So we try to use everything from the old school method to the new school method as far as using electronics and stuff like that, to see what we can capture. Now, if we can use both things and they both are doing something out of the ordinary, then we can kind of say, well, you know what, there's something that's going on because the old school method is working with the new school. Yeah. So that's how we kind of look at things as far as going in.
It's a clear sign that there's something going on there.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that I know nothing about that world or the investigation side of it. You usually think of ghosts or haunted houses, and you think you're gonna walk in there and you're actually gonna see like a ghost or an actual image. It's not always necessarily that, right?
No.
Sometimes it's when you say the word activity that it has a broad spectrum of things that can happen, right?
Yeah, it's really different in different locations, and then there's some locations you can be at for hours and you never get anything. A lot of times what you see on TV, of course you have to remember that TV's edited so that they're giving you as much as they can in that short time frame. Yeah. So a lot of times when we're in locations, we're there for like 6 hours and we get very limited activity. Activity can be anything from noises to voices to digital recording voices, shadow figures, things moving.
Footsteps.
Footsteps. There's a lot of things that can be considered activity. The holy grail of actually ghost hunting is actually full apparitions, which nobody really can substantiate. We haven't been able to really see those yet. But that's what everybody's after pretty much.
Of course. And of course now in these times when of course technology has, gotten so good, it's very hard to be credible, right?
Yeah.
You see a lot of videos on YouTube or on all social media, and it's very easy to to be fooled. They'll put something on there with AI or something, so it's hard, And I think the type of work that you guys do, it kind of brings credibility back to it because you're actually out there on the field. You're actually taking a pulse of what actually is going on there.
Right.
That's really interesting. How did this come about? Like, is it something that you just, got together and started doing it? Or has it been, since you guys were younger, was it something that always interested you?
For myself, pretty much ever since I was young, I never saw anything, but I would hear things, not at my house per se, but I would hear things outside or see kind of like some shadows and stuff like that. And I would tell my parents, and of course, me being so young, my parents was like, "Oh, it's nothing. Forget it. It's nothing. Just don't mind it. It's just your imagination."
Yeah.
But it's funny because my parents or my grandmother would be talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like the same things that I would see or hear, or whatever the case may be. So whenever I would hear them, I was like, well, now I know I'm not crazy, or now I know I'm not imagining things. You know, I don't have my imaginary friend. Yeah. But
and that's so weird because when it's something that's so recurrent at a young age and it happens all the time, it becomes kind of like it's just that.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
The movie The Sixth Sense comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the kid, you know, for him it was already normal to see him. That's what's so cool about that movie, because it starts and he's talking to what's his name? I forget the actor's
Bruce
name.
Willis.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, and he's just talking to him throughout, I'd say 90% of the movie, and the whole time you think he's actually there.
Right.
But it's the way he's not only acting, but it's part of his role where he's just the ghost that comes and talks to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happens at such a young age, you know. I don't know. It's always weird that kids always, or specifically in their younger years, they seem to have a more open sensory to that.
Right.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Do you have similar experiences?
Well, actually, I grew up in a haunted house. I'm originally from Tennessee, so the house that I grew up in was built on old plantation land.
Wow.
So we did have a family, pretty much, that lived, the spirit family that lived in our house. So yeah, I had all kinds of different things that would happen. Like I would have my keys disappear on certain occasions, and then they would reappear in different places. VCRs that would turn on and off without being plugged in. They would just, you know, different things like that would happen. Voices, all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. So since I grew up with it at a young age, and my mom was always interested in the paranormal too, so we kind of already were interested in stuff. Yeah. It just kind of created that environment, I guess. Yeah. And I just always wanted to be a part of a group. So then once I moved here and found other people that had similar, you know, interests, then we decided to go ahead and form our own.
That's cool. But your parents never treated it as something that was meant to maybe frighten you or you know, to be scary.
No, my mom was real. I mean, she, like I said, she was real interested in that stuff too, and she had experiences as well. My dad, on the other hand, was one who would be like, "Oh, it's this," or "It's, you know, it's the wind," or things like that. So he would kind of explain it away. But then we were kind of like, well, maybe he's doing that because he doesn't want to acknowledge that it's there. So that was
he's scared in the inside, but he's using that as a defense mechanism.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So
I remember me personally growing up, I was always really scared of the dark, but I think that was a result of my dad was always playing jokes on me. Like he was always scaring me, or he was always turning off the lights on me. So I, you know, of course I grew out of it. I'm no longer afraid of the dark, but I think during those years I was very traumatized, and then it didn't help that, you know, at a very young age I started watching like The Exorcist and all these hardcore scary movies. I remember the one that impacted me the most. I mean, it has nothing to do with ghosts, but it's a scary one. An American Werewolf in London.
Oh yeah,
the classic one.
The classic.
And it just set an impression on me that, okay, don't go out in the dark at night because that werewolf is gonna get you.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so you start developing these, you know, these mechanisms to where, you know, you don't want to say out loud that you're afraid of it, but you are.
Right.
So I think it's pretty cool when you do away with those walls and you do like the type of work you guys do, and it becomes a lot more interesting. And I think what's more important is that you kind of get close to understanding what's really going on.
Right.
From your perspective and your experience, would you say that it could be more a result of just not necessarily paranormal, but just natural things that happen? For example, we know that lightning comes from the sky, but I'm sure back in the caveman years when they didn't know what it was, they freaked out and saw it. Could it be that maybe all these things that you guys see out there could be something similar?
There's a lot of times where you go to a location and people will tell you the stories of things that have happened, and once you start to investigate, and what we do is we go in and we do what's considered base readings. So we take our devices and we go and we get those base readings to see what the electricity and everything is at a normal level, what we would consider normal. So then when we do an investigation, if there's spikes, if there's dips, then those are things that we tag and we say, well, that could possibly be something. Yeah. And then we try to figure out what could be causing that. One common thing that we talk about a lot is that people, especially like if you have basements or if you have rooms that have a lot of electrical like components, like your washer, your dryer, your breaker box, if they're all in one area, that can create what we call a fear cage. And if you're exposed to that area over a period of time, it's scientifically proven that can cause like physical things. Like it can make you have hallucinations. It can make you feel paranoid. So sometimes it can be as simple as that.
Wow.
That it's an environmental condition that's causing what's going on.
Yeah.
So we've been able to help people.
And that
with,
would be like something just natural.
Exactly,
It has
yeah.
nothing to do with anything
Yeah.
paranormal. So I guess what you're trying to say is that you guys have to weed out all that stuff
Yeah.
before you get
Exactly,
before you
yeah.
can confirm that it's something that
Yeah.
we
That-
simply do not know what it is.
Yeah, that's what in the field we call debunking. So
Yeah.
we go through and we try to debunk as much as possible, and then whatever we can't, then we say, well, this is something that was paranormal. We're not saying it's necessarily a haunting, but it's something that was interesting and that
Right.
that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, I saw a podcast where they were talking about something similar regarding paranormal activity, and I remember the host talking about how, as humans, our sight and our sensory parts of ours, which is our sight and our hearing, it's a very narrow spectrum of the frequencies that are out there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why owls can see in the dark. That's why some animals can hear
Right. Right.
from miles
Miles
away.
away.
Right.
So a lot of the frequencies that are out there, we're just not, equipped to pick them up. These instruments that you use, is that what that's for? Does that what that opens up the spectrum, or what exactly is that?
I believe so. To be honest with you, I mean, I have devices that I've spent, $600, $500, stuff like that, and my best device that I can tell you is a digital recorder that cost me $30.
Okay.
You're able to pick up voices or whatever off of a digital recorder, I guess, just because of the way that it is. It picks up. It's so sensitive that it can pick up, voices that we can't hear with our own ears.
Wow. When you say voices, do you mean like coherent sentences or just like gibberish?
Sometimes
Sometimes,
sentences,
yeah.
Like you can actually make out
Yeah.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, like on our YouTube page, there's a place that we investigated, and it was me and Quez, which was our other teammate, and then one of his friends, and we honestly, I wasn't able to take out anything of my equipment other than the digital. No, actually, no, it was just a camera, right? It was actually just a camera, and then and a sensor. The sensor, I took it out for like maybe a couple of minutes, but throughout that whole video of 6 minutes of video, we caught voices like you wouldn't believe. Like that was, for me, that was one of our best investigations that we did, and we only did 6 minutes of video. That's all we captured.
Yeah, it's like they walked into like a situation, like something that was already going on, and it was just like continual.
Yeah.
And they didn't acknowledge. If you watch the video, they don't acknowledge any of the, because we put the words like what we hear. We in the enhanced audio, we put the words that are what we hear with this with the headphones and everything. So in the moment, they're in real time, they're not hearing any of that, so they don't acknowledge it at all.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
It was it was an investigation that we were there 20 minutes at that place, and then the landlord told us that we couldn't be there anymore. That he decided, he changed his mind, he didn't want us to be there. And
did it make him feel uncomfortable?
I don't know. Well, he wasn't there. He wasn't present or anything like that. The only thing is, just at first he had stated that it was okay that we could do an investigation there. A family was living there. They were moving out because the wife was experiencing voices, footsteps, apparitions, or shadow figures and stuff like that. And Quez knew the family somehow. I don't know how they were related. And then so we got permission from the landlord for us to go out there. And again, we were there 20 minutes, but we only did 6 minutes of video. And I thought it was like a bust. I was like, man, that's like, what a waste of time.
They were so disappointed. They were calling us and they were like, man.
Yeah, I was pissed. I wasn't disappointed. I was pissed.
Again, because in the audio that you were listening to, or the being there present, you didn't capture any of that.
Did not capture
with your normal hearing. It
No.
wasn't until you did the playback that you picked
Right.
all that
Yeah.
up. Wow.
And it was, I mean, as soon as we started viewing the video and hearing what was coming through, I mean, I was just like, oh my God, like, we got to call, Alicia, and we got to call Robert, we got to call everybody, like, hey, y'all need to come check this out. Like, because it was so interesting, just with everything that we were able to capture. And then again, we had our speakers, big speakers and stuff, and we turned up the volume so we can try to hear better. We had headphones as well, so we can try to clear things up and stuff. But it was just amazing. Like, it was really, really awesome.
Very groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Like you say, you can be out hours out there, and it's very rare that you
Yeah.
capture something as well, I don't want to say tangible, but as close
Right.
to what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
is very interesting. Speaking of Quez, I want to send out a shout out to Quez Black, who couldn't be
Yeah.
here today, but he's part of y'all's team.
Yes.
Right.
He's actually how I heard about you guys, and it was his idea to have you guys here on the podcast. We were actually on his brother's podcast out
Okay.
in Westlaco not too long ago, and from what I understand, that hotel has some activity as well. I'm sure you've
Actually, we know
experienced
Mark.
some of it.
Yeah, we know Mark as well. We actually were sharing the studio with him at one point when we were doing
Okay.
our podcast,
Okay.
and we were also a guest at his podcast as well too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we investigated the
Any
Cortez.
activity there that you guys picked up?
We were limited as far as access on the hotel, but I think we only had third floor, and
think
fourth
so.
floor.
All right.
So, but we could only do the hallways, and then the room where they had their podcast and stuff like that. But we captured a couple of things here and there. I guess you could say it was like noises and stuff that was going on.
Yeah, kind of some unexplainable
Yeah.
noises.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty much it. And
Yeah.
we always hope to capture an apparition or a shadow and stuff. I mean, that's me personally. I'm not sure what Alicia would be, but for me, I want to see everything. I want to be able to capture an
Right.
apparition.
Of course. Sometimes they come as orbs as well, right?
Yes.
Is there an
Yeah.
explanation for why orbs or why that appears on video?
Well, a lot of times orbs when you see them on video, especially if you're seeing them on like Ring cameras or stuff like that, there's a 99% chance that you can explain what it is. In our experience, a lot of times it's bugs or it's dust or it's things
A
like that.
spider.
Yeah, but then there's that 1% that there's no way. Like the flight pattern is weird, or you can see through it. It's real translucent, or it'll just it's almost like it appears out of nowhere and then goes away. So some of them are really interesting.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, you can explain away.
Wow. That's interesting. I want to go back a little bit, Alicia, to when you were remembering your experience growing up in that house that used to be a plantation. Of course, you said you lost your keys sometimes. Sometimes VCRs came on and off. Based on what you experienced there, would you say that whatever it is that's there, whether it's a spirit or an energy, like, does it have to do with electricity? Like, is there a connection between the electricity components or actual physical things for them to move that?
I feel like, well, my experience and kind of one of my theories, and it is kind of a theory in the paranormal community, is that a lot of times they use the electricity to try and draw their own energy. So a lot of times when we're in locations, we always charge our batteries. We charge batteries for all of our cameras, all of our devices. But it's almost as soon as we get to a location, the batteries will be drained. And then that's when activity will pick up. So it's almost like they're taking the energy that's available so that they can then manifest in some way.
Yeah.
So, it does seem like when I was growing up that a lot of times that would happen. Like there would be the energy would be messed with, or like the electricity would be messed with, things like that.
Yeah.
And then other things would happen.
Yeah.
So
Because
there does seem to be a correlation.
That absolutely. Well, you got to remember that as humans, we are energy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're full of energy, and I heard once that energy never ceases to exist; it
Right.
just transforms.
Exactly.
So that
Einstein, yeah.
that could be an explanation as to what happens.
Yeah.
When we're not in this world anymore,
Right.
something has to happen to that
Right.
energy. Call it a spirit, call it our soul, whatever
Right.
you like to call it, but it has to go somewhere.
Yeah, and there's in the paranormal field, there's what we consider residual hauntings, and then there's what we consider intelligent hauntings. So a lot of times the residual ones seem to be those that are energy based, really like charged energy based, because those are the ones where like traumatic events have happened. Or sudden deaths have happened, and it seems like it was such a emotional and energy draining event that happened that it just kind of imprints on that location.
Yeah.
So it just loops. It just keeps playing over and over and over. So when you have those types of hauntings, they don't interact with you. It just keeps on playing. Like it's just repetitive.
Yeah.
And then if you have an intelligent one, those are the ones that you can actually get like responses from.
Yeah. Would you say that's because they're like in another dimension and they just can't perceive you when they're on repeat?
Possibly. I mean, that is a theory.
That's a theory.
Right.
So, I mean, the thing with the paranormal is like there's no real hard, like
There's no book to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're always, there's theories out there, and we're always testing the theories that are out there.
Yeah.
It's really hard to completely like prove or disprove a theory.
Of course.
And yeah, it's just within the scientific community also. It's the paranormal is not exactly considered a science. It's more of a pseudoscience.
I would imagine that they even mock that field, right?
Yeah, some of them really do. But then there's some others that have, put a lot of effort into trying to get the community, more well-based and more out there so that people can experience things and get more scientifically involved in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's crazy. Would you say that maybe these entities are maybe spirits that are trapped between our world and another?
I would think so.
I mean, based on what you've heard from what they talk about, like when you catch audio, like is there anything that they say like that may indicate that they feel trapped or something like that?
Well, for example, that investigation that I was telling you about, this happened in North Donna. The investigation that Quaz and I did, that we captured 6 minutes of video. There was a traumatic death. The husband or boyfriend, whatever, wind up shooting his wife, girlfriend, whatever, in the back room of a trailer home, and then he winds up shooting himself. He didn't die in the house, but he died on the way to the hospital. And in that video, that 6 minute video, me and Quez, we're talking, and it's three of us that are there, and we're talking, and it's mainly Quez that's normally talking or is talking and stuff like that, and I'm looking at something else. I'm doing some other stuff.
When you say talking, you mean he's trying to make a interaction?
He's talking to his friend, because them two were asking, well, do you feel anything, or whatever the case may be, or he's asking questions and stuff like that. And through that video, like, you actually get like a sentence where, it says, if I remember correctly, it says, I'm to your left. And then there's some other ones that says like, hey, pick me up now. Like, what's amazing is, and what's crazy is, in the back room where we went to, the back room where supposedly the wife got shot or killed, I have a device. It's called a REM pod. It makes noise like, if any electricity or any type of energy gets around it, it starts making a noise. Well, I have it in my hand, so it's making a noise, and I'm going to be setting it down on the floor. And Eric or Quaz, he asked, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, that's me, because I have the device in my hand. Yeah. Mind you, it's pitch black in the back. And then all of a sudden you hear a loud pop. It's just, and thing is, we don't hear it. Like, we're there.
In real time.
In real time, we don't hear it.
You heard it in the playback.
But we hear it on the video. And we were like, what is that? What is that? What is that? And it wasn't until we called Alicia and Robert, her husband, that they started looking at it. And then Robert was like, that's the gunshot. And I was like, oh my God. Like, you know what? Yeah, it does sound like a gunshot.
Oh, wow.
And it's crazy, because I remembered when we saw that video, I remember asking Quez, I was like, did you hear that when we were there? He's like, no, dude. Like,
you would have heard it.
No,
yeah.
And you guys would have said something
yeah,
on the
and
video.
And the thing about us is, like, if we hear something or whatever the case may be, something happens, we try to say, hey, this happened at this time, or we heard footsteps, or we heard a voice, or whatever.
Or a car drove by.
Yeah, or a car drove by, or there's a dog barking outside. We normally try to, tag the evidence, or tag the video, or even the digital recorder. Well, that was a car passing by, or that was a video, loud music, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That way we know, okay, this is what happened. Because once we review the evidence, it's hours later or maybe a day later when we start looking at everything. So we're not going to remember everything that that happened.
Especially if you were there for more than an hour or a couple of hours.
Right.
A lot can happen.
Yeah. So we try to tag like the evidence if we hear anything or whatever the case may be. So I know that if we would have heard that pop or the voices, we would have said there was a voice that came through, or whatever, or there was a loud pop. Because I know that Eric or Quez, he asked, is that you? And I said yes, but because I had the device in my hand. So that's a tag letting us know that was me with the device making that noise.
Yeah.
So yeah, whenever we heard that was just, it was crazy. It was amazing.
And during all these encounters or explorations, does fear play a role in you? Like, do you feel afraid? Any type of fear? Does it make you nervous?
No.
Yeah, so far, no.
Quez, on the other hand, yes.
Yeah.
He's the one that runs.
He's our Scooby. He
Yeah.
likes to run a little bit. But he's getting better. He's getting better.
Would you say like it's kind of like he has 1 foot in, 1 foot out? Like,
Pretty much.
A little bit, yeah.
Right there yet.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Why do you think it is that you don't feel you're not afraid or you don't feel nervous? Like, do you think your curiosity gets the best of you?
I would say so.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just because since I grew up with a lot of activity and stuff anyway, for me, it's just kind of the norm. Yeah. I'm also a little bit of an empath, so I can sometimes get words or phrases in my head, or I will like have spirits kind of approach me. Like I don't see them, but I will have things come into my head that I'm like, then I'll ask the people that I'm talking to, like, do you know anybody named this? Do you know anybody named that? Or, you know, so I can kind of do that. I also, in locations, I pick up on the feelings of locations. So I can tell if there's been, sometimes I can tell if there's been like a murder, a drowning, if it was death by fire, those kind of things.
You can just perceive it?
Yeah. I pick up on the feel of everything.
Emotion.
So yeah, and that's when I first told everybody that I can do this kind of stuff, they were like, "Okay." I mean, I'm sure, like I would be skeptical too, right?
Yeah.
If you tell people this,
I was bull crap.
He was pretty skeptical, but I think I've proved it a couple of times that it's pretty legit. Yeah. So, not 100% of the time, it doesn't always pan out, but there are some times. Like we were, I did a client interview this past weekend, and we were in the house and we were interviewing the clients, and I had 2 names that popped into my head for like no reason. And I asked the clients after they had finished, their story. I happened to ask them. I said, "Okay, just hear me out. Did these 2 names mean anything to you?" And the lady that we were interviewing, she kind of looked a little odd, and she was like, "Well, yeah, that's my dad." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not saying that I got a message or anything. I'm just saying that the name popped in my head. So it's possible. Maybe he wants to send you a message. Maybe he's just around, just making sure you're okay." Yeah. So yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. Sort of like a telepathic kind of sensory, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Where you're getting this data, you don't know where it's coming from, but it's coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
From some type of entity. As far as experiences, what's the most well, I know you guys just said that you're not afraid of what you do or it doesn't scare you, but what's the most intense situation you've been, or something that maybe, not the average person would have been to handle it, that really freaked you out?
What was the most intense that we've had? We had that growl that happened. That was Laborde, right?
That was at Laborde House.
Yeah.
That was me.
That was a little interesting. Yeah. It seems like everything always happens to those guys. Like.
Okay. You weren't around for that one?
No.
Well, I was in another room. We were investigating in one of the bedrooms there.
Oh, okay.
And so they were out in the hallway
upstairs.
If you're familiar with Laborde, there's like a bunch of different bedrooms. This is in Rio Grande City.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's
is that like a hotel? Or?
Yeah, it's the old hotel that's been there for a long time.
Okay.
So we were in one of the upstairs bedrooms. They were in the hallway, and we were doing a EVP session, what we consider an EVP session. That's with a digital recorder where we just record and we ask questions. So the rest of us were in there, and they were in the hallway investigating. And you can tell the rest of it since it happened to you. Yeah.
So Quez is, I would say, maybe 3 feet away from me, and we're upstairs. And to the left, there's the stairs that go downstairs. And we're actually going to the last room upstairs, and we're going to go in there. And so we're walking, and I want to say I have the camera in my hands and stuff. And I hear, or we both hear, like a deep sigh, like a, and I was like, holy crap. I was like, Quez, did you hear that? He's like, was that not you? I was like, no, dude, that was like in between us or behind me. I don't know, but it was like right there. Yeah. That was, again, I'm not the type to get scared. I get excited. Yeah. Quez, on the other hand, he's the one that's like, oh crap, like, you know what? Let's
That's where he draws the line.
Yeah, that's where he draws the line.
Yeah, but they were like immediately like radio, because we had walkies, so they radioed to us, and they're like, did any of you like make a noise, or did you? And they were like so excited. It was just like, no, what happened?
Yeah, so it was, I think that was, well, for me, again, it's excitement for me. Like anything that happens, I get excited.
Of course.
My wife, she tells me one of these days Something's
Yeah.
going to come out. It's going to scare the hell out of you. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, until that day. But
I'm waiting for that day.
yeah.
Another one that happened just recently, we investigated on Halloween night. We did the Kelsey Bass Museum over in Rio Grande City.
Right.
So we were there for quite a while. Well, Jerry has these motion detectors, and he has it set to like the dog bark.
Right.
So he has one that's in the hallway. It's upstairs in the hallway. And then he had one downstairs. So we were upstairs. We were doing what's considered the Estes method. So we were doing that method upstairs, and there was nobody downstairs at the time. Well, Quez and I walked out onto like the little balcony area because it seemed like we were getting responses, but from something downstairs. So we were asking questions, and we're like, are you downstairs? Do you want us to come downstairs? What's going on? So we heard what sounded like the dog bark downstairs. So then we asked Jerry, we're like, did you bring both of your dog bark detectors? And he's like, well, yeah. And we said, okay, so the one in the hallway up here, we know that one's on, but is your other one downstairs? And he's like, well, yeah, it's downstairs. And we're like, is it on? He's like, no.
Yeah.
So that was like
Wow.
super weird, yeah. And I was like, I swear I heard it.
Yeah.
It sounded exactly like the.
So it was off and it still went off. I mean, it was off and it went.
That's what it seemed like. Yeah, we're still that investigation. We're still going through the evidence because we were there for 7 hours. I think 7 to 8 hours. So, and you consider like you have all of your different devices and they're all recording for that amount of time.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of footage to go through.
Yeah.
So we're still going through all that. Hopefully we'll get something that has it on there. But yeah, that was wild.
That's a lot of patience, man.
Yeah. Another one
yeah.
was at the old Mercedes firehouse. There's jail cells on the bottom floor, the first floor, and I heard, and her husband, I don't know if everybody else heard, but I heard footsteps, but on the other side, because the jail cells, it's kind of like a U. So we were over here on this side, and I'm over here close to the edge, and they're over here at the last jail cell. So I'm over here, and I'm asking questions, we're all asking questions, whatever, and all of a sudden you hear like heavy footsteps, like somebody was wearing like hard sole shoes or boots, but you can hear heavy footsteps on the other side. And I was like, oh crap, do y'all hear that? And her husband was like, footsteps? I'm like, yes. And I just take off so I can go. I pretty much ran over there to try to see if I could see anything or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But I mean, never saw a shadow or anything like that, but it was, again, for me, it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's exciting.
It's like you just get little bits and pieces here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's so
yeah, and sometimes it's almost like they're just like playing with you.
Yeah.
Because we'll go sometimes a whole investigation, we'll get nothing. And as soon as we start like packing up and like getting ready to leave, that's when stuff will happen. And it's like, really? Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, they're like, no, wait, we got a good show for you. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You got to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah. I think there's a house here on 3 Mile Line in Palmhurst. I'm sure. Have you heard of it? There's been a lot of activity reported there supposedly.
You talking about that 2-story house or 3-story house that's facing north?
Yeah, it's all boarded up.
Yeah.
It's been abandoned for some time.
Oh, is that the one you were trying to get into at one point?
Yeah, but or
trying to get permission to. We don't go into places if we don't have permission.
Yeah.
By the way, we always try to make sure we
make it legit.
Yeah.
So on that one, I had reached out to, I can't remember where I had seen it, but I was asking who owns it so I can try to get permission so we can do an investigation there. Mm-hmm. And they had said, oh, well, this family owns it or whatever the case may be, but they're in Mexico and stuff like that. But it's not haunted or anything. At least that's what some of the people were saying. So, again, it's kind of hard to actually pinpoint or say, yeah, this place is haunted. You know, I mean, just because you see an old abandoned house or whatever, people are going to say, well, it looks creepy. It's haunted.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of hard to actually, I guess, determine or actually say, like, you know what, this house does have activity or it is haunted or whatever.
Yeah. In other words, don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
You got to actually go in there and...
Yeah, you can have locations that are... the land itself is old, but the buildings are new, and you can have activity there. So the building you would never think, because it looks brand new, you would think, no, there's no way. But yeah, that place will have activity. And then you can have a house that's been sitting there for 100 years, and it's the most peaceful place ever. It doesn't have anything. That's
pretty neat. As far as upcoming investigations, what do you have lined up? Do you have any places here in Nevada that you're going to visit soon?
We have one that's going to be in January. That's a home location. That's the one that I was doing the interview with the clients. So anytime that we do an investigation, we have if it's clients that are in a home, like a residential, we'll go and we'll do an interview with them first, like a pre-investigation interview. And then we set up like the date and time and all that. So we set that up this past weekend. We'll probably be doing that in January. And if they give us permission, then we'll post some of that footage if we get anything. We always make sure to ask, for permission before we post anything. So we have that one coming up. And then we still need to finish the Kelsey Bass investigation, like all of our evidence review, and then we'll try to get that uploaded. They've already given us permission that we can put that up, and then we're going to go and show them anything that we get. And then we have a couple of other locations there in Rio Grande City that we're probably going to be able to get access to that are located pretty close to the museum.
Right. Well, we'll be looking out for that. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
For everybody who's watching, of course, you guys are present in all social media platforms.
Yeah, we have, we're most active on Facebook just because it's the easiest to message us through Facebook Messenger. If you have a location that you want us to try and investigate, you can send us a message through Messenger. So we're most active there, but we also do have YouTube up with some of our evidence. We're trying to upload more to that all the time. And Instagram and TikTok, we're still getting those up and going too. But you can find us on both of those as well.
All right. And they can find you as Revenant Watch Paranormal, right?
Yeah. If you look up Revenant Watch Paranormal, or even just Revenant Watch, a lot of times it'll come up that way as well. Yeah. We have our logo is like a raven on top of a tombstone. So if you see that logo, that's us.
All right. Well, I want to invite all our watchers to go check you guys out, give you a follow, and anybody who's into that or just is curious or wants to learn a little more.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I said in the beginning, what I like about it, it's not just like scary ghost apparitions or stuff like that. It's more of like you said, a scientific approach to it.
Right.
To be able to give it a more reasonable explanation.
Right.
I think, like you said, it's hard to say for sure what it is, but I think the more scientific you are about it, it's easier to get a better explanation.
Right. Exactly.
About it.
And a lot of times it's just the explanation that people want.
Yeah.
So for us, the big locations are great, like the big well-known locations. We love doing those. But we're all about the home locations too, because a lot of times people have things going on in their home and they're afraid. Or they just want answers. So if anybody out there has any of that and they need help, they by all means reach out to us and we'll set up an interview. We'll come and talk to you guys and try to get you some answers, because we want people to feel comfortable in their homes. Even if there's something there, you need to feel comfortable in your space and be able to take ownership of your space.
Is there a fee for this?
No. We do everything free of charge. Right. We do accept donations if people ever do want to donate. But yeah, we our services are free of charge. So, and this is a hobby for us, so we do have regular 9-to-5s. Yeah. So sometimes scheduling things can be a little bit difficult. But yeah, we love it. I don't think I'm going to stop anytime soon. I don't know about you, but yeah.
Right.
I'll still be in a wheelchair or a walker.
That's pretty cool, man. Well, we're getting ready to close the episode, but I don't want to let you guys go before asking you a question regarding. I know that Hollywood kind of fills our minds with the over the top stuff and everything, but there's movies, for example, like Insidious, where it's more of a, I guess, a satanic approach to it.
And demonic.
Demonic. More like, be careful when you do this because you could take something home with you.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered that's a possibility for you guys?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we always, anytime, we joke about it, right? But anytime we do an investigation, we always do start with a protection prayer.
Okay.
We use holy water when we start, just to kind of, give everybody a little bit of holy water. And then when we close an investigation, we do another protection prayer and just tell everything it has to stay there, and we use the holy water again. Okay. So we do take it seriously when we're actually doing an investigation. We're we're all about protecting ourselves. Luckily, so far we haven't run into anything like that. Yeah. I know a lot of the stuff that's out there, they portray it as demonic and stuff like that, but again, a lot of that stuff is all about the ratings and the views and stuff. And I tell people, look, if it really was that much demonic, the world would be in a really worse place than where it is right now. We'd be overrun.
Yeah.
One story that I have, I'm sorry to interrupt, but one story that I do have is we had an investigation at the San Juan Hotel, and I'm normally the one that always gets to a place first because I want to look at everything and stuff. And anyways, I get there, I park, and I'm not on the property, but I'm outside in the parking lot beside the San Juan Hotel.
Yeah.
And I opened my door, and there's a tennis ball, just a regular tennis ball, yellow tennis ball. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this. By then, we had just barely started, so I didn't have a lot of equipment to use. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to use this as a device, like a trigger object. And anyway, so I'm using it throughout the investigation there at the San Juan Hotel. Long story short, I go home. My wife's in bed waiting for me and stuff like that, and she was asking me how it went. I was, it was good, whatever. Yeah, I didn't really catch nothing and stuff. And there was too much noise, cars passing by and all this stuff. And I was like, but I found a tennis ball that I'm going to be using for future investigations. And she's like, why would you bring that home? I'm like, well, it wasn't on the property. It was beside the property. It was like in the parking lot. She goes, but still, why would you bring it home? I was like, it's just a ball. It's nothing. And it's like nothing. It's nothing's going to happen. So she's telling me, no, you should need to get rid of it. And I was like, no, I'm going to use it for future investigations. So I have the habit of always closing my door and I lock it to my bedroom door. So we're talking to her. She's like telling me, you need to throw it away. I'm telling her no. We're going back and forth. And all of a sudden, my smoke alarms go off. Not just one, but all of them. And I look at her and she's like, you better throw that damn thing away now. So I get up, and as soon as I go to reach for the doorknob, the smoke alarms go off. And I look at her again. She's like, I'm not playing. You better get rid of it now. So before I got rid of it, I'm actually looking in all the rooms to see if there's maybe something, a fire or something, whatever the case may be. I was like, well, maybe she left something in the oven, or it's on the stove, something's, burning. There was nothing. And again, this was like at 2, 3 in the morning probably. And, my smoke alarms just go off all of a sudden, all of them at once. And it was unexplainable. And I was like, okay, I'm going to throw it away. Well, at that time I lived on a dead end, and on the other side was just nothing but, grass and trees and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what, this is a good place. I'm going to throw it there. So I ended up throwing it on the land, I'm like, forget that. And I went back into the house and started throwing holy water everywhere. And
Yeah.
But that was a crazy experience.
That was the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the end of it.
Wow.
But it was crazy because, again, I didn't get scared, but my wife, on the other hand, boy, she was terrified. She was scared.
Of course. It's not normal to
Yeah.
have something like that happen, especially at 3 in the morning.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear you guys mention holy water. Are you guys Catholic?
I grew up Catholic. When I was younger, I'm not as active like I used to be, but I do believe in God and stuff. I do look at the Bible every now and then, and so my belief in God. Yeah, I believe in Him and stuff like that. My faith is not as strong as it used to be at one point, but I do have faith. You know.
Is that the same for you?
I'm not actually Catholic. I grew up in 2 different churches. I had a set of grandparents that were Seventh-day Adventist, and I had a set of grandparents that were Methodist. So I grew up in both. So I've always considered myself more of a spiritual person than a necessarily religious person. But I'm not going to turn down some holy water either because any protection is good protection, right?
Of course.
So I do definitely believe in some kind of higher power or something that's out there. And there's definitely good and evil. I mean, you can't have one without the other. There has to be a balance.
Well, it's the essence of the universe, positive, negative energy.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
We're made of that. And, we, depending on the culture you live in, we all give it a different name.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely some truth to that as far as evil and good.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we always want to try to stay on the good side.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I want to thank you guys for coming out today and sharing your stories and what it is exactly that you do. And again, we want to invite all our viewers to go check you guys out and follow you guys. Any last shout outs you want to give out before we end the episode?
Shout out to all of our followers that are gonna probably see this.
Mm-hmm.
We'll share it out on our social medias and stuff too once it's out.
Cool.
So thanks to all of them for being with us and supporting us along the way, and we hope to bring you guys more here in the future. And then to all of our teammates who couldn't be here tonight, but yeah, thanks to Robert, to Allison, Roy, and of course Eric Quez, our wonderful tech guy, who gets us a lot of gigs, by the way. So
Right.
so thanks for that, Quez.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna what's the word? I'm gonna set you guys to a commitment. We're gonna leave the door open for you guys to come back for a second episode, but you gotta promise that next time you come, you gotta bring some type of footage or something we can share with the audience. I think
definitely.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Jerry, it was a pleasure
Thank
to
you.
meet you today.
Appreciate it.
Ashley, thank you so much. Like I said, the door's open for a second episode, part 2, and you guys, thank you so much for coming out. Everybody who saw this episode, we thank you so much. We want to invite you to check us out on our social medias. Keep liking us and leaving comments, and follow us on everything: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We're on all platforms. You have a good evening. I wish everybody a good day and a good evening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Stopping me.